who, frankly, had a better day. I mean, he was bigger, faster, quicker, jumped higher, jumped farther, did everything, but not quite the football instincts. We're talking about Jayson Oweh. How have you seen? Because I think the knock on him, reading at FightOnState.com on your site, the knock on him is he's late to the game, doesn't quite have the instinct. So how have you seen him progress from when he first got there, and what does his trajectory look like?
Well, you mentioned it. He played. He did not play high school football until his junior year of high school, and then his first year at Penn State, he redshirted. He was fortunate enough to play under Sean Spencer, who's now with the New York Giants, who's an outstanding defensive line coach here for that first year or so. And I think what you've seen, the stats are a little deceiving with Oweh. He was credited with no sacks this past year because he didn't have any sacks. He shouldn't have been credited with any, but he was still a first-team All-Big Ten pick. What is that telling you? It's telling you that the coaches realized the impact that he had in getting pressure on the quarterback. Where is he now? The things I mentioned about Micah Parsons being such a natural football player, those are the things that Jayson Oweh lacks. It's going to take him several years to be able to perform at an elite level game after game after game. And I think what scouts and GMs are seeing is this clay that they could mold into what they need it to be. But when you talk about athleticism, when you talk about upside, it's just unbelievable. When he first arrived and they were reporting his 40 times as sub 4 here, you're thinking, I don't know. They're usually pretty good here. And if you look at what they've done in the combine under Dwight Galt, their strength coach, they've done really well. But with him, it's like there was really some legitimate skepticism. So for him to go out and do that at Pro Day in front of all those NFL scouts, it's legit. Now, would that have been an electronic, the same thing? Probably not. But you're still,
here. It's
going to be a freak number.
I've been on this for 20 years now because when people say, "Oh, he's on a laser," I feel like
right.
Dr. Evil. A laser stop is not an electronic time. And the NFL Combine does it the same way. It's a push button start and it's a laser finish.
Right.
If you are pushing a button, it is hand timed. I don't care if there's a laser finish. So,
and when you're talking about the numbers that he posted, that's really irrelevant as well, because even if you do lasers or however you want to do it, that was going to be a monster number.
You're fast. I once had a kid tell me when I was running combines at Scout, he's like, "Hey, I ran a 4.48. What can I get down to?" I said, "I don't care. You're fast.
Right.
How can you play? You're fast enough. Now I'm interested. What can you do?" Now, I've said with guys like this that may lack the instincts is with this kind of athleticism is put their hand in the dirt or the rubber pellets, so to speak, and let them go get after the quarterback. You've got one job. Go get that guy on third downs. Can he do that? Is he forget about the instincts. Does he have the tenacity, the motor, and all those type of things to get after the quarterback and become even a third down specialist as well as a high round pick?
Yeah, when he redshirted as a true freshman, I'm forgetting what game it is. I probably should have studied up on this, but in the first game he played, he got in really late, and that's what they did. And he ended up having 2 sacks in that one game. In a matter of, if he had 15 snaps in that game, I would be surprised. And he ended up turning it into 2 snaps. I think that where you're going to run into an issue with Oweh is he's not going to be he may eventually be the defensive end that could drop into coverage or cover a tight end or do things in a 3-4 type setting as an outside linebacker. He has that athleticism, but he doesn't have the natural instinct. So those are the kind of things that he's going to have to be taught how to do. He wasn't really asked to do much of that here at Penn State.
Mark, and I'm blanking on his name. Is it Jabril Peppers, the basketball player from North Carolina that ended up playing with the Panthers? Julius Peppers. Thank you. Jabril Peppers was a safety at Michigan. Yeah. See, I'm getting all my names confused through all these years. Could we end up here? Is that his ultimate upside, do you think? Because that was another freak of an athlete that turned into one heck of an NFL player.
Yeah, I actually covered Julius Peppers against Penn State in the NCAA tournament. Penn State somehow beat that team. And yeah, you talk about that sort of athleticism. Now, I think Peppers ended up being bigger, heavier. And I think that remains to be seen with Oweh. If you look at some of the photos of him from Pro Day even at what was he, 258?
Yeah, 257, call it 260 with a biscuit, you know.
And he looks skinny. So I think he still has room to sort of fill out. Does he maintain that athleticism? I think that's the question. But without a doubt, I think from day one, he's going to be a guy who could come in on third down and rush the passer for you.
Yeah, and I mean, a 4.21 shuttle, that's cornerback. 6.83 L cone, because, forget about the 40. When I'm looking at athleticism,
right,
I'm looking at the change of direction and the explosion movements, which is the shuttle, the L cone, the broad jump, and the vertical. The 40 is nice for hype, but nobody's running 40 yards in a straight line, except maybe a receiver on a fly route. That doesn't count. So their change of direction is elite.